Good evening again, everyone. Thursday night, not quite as late as I usually am, but still getting on there after midnight. Um, and we're going to be talking about the materials that we were reading this past week. And we are coming near to the end of the guide. Next week, we will finish the guide and move on to something called the Introduction to Perek HaChelek, which includes the 13, what's later called the 13 Principles of Faith. Maimonides doesn't really call it that, but we'll take a look at the whole context of that, and we'll include material on resurrection, the world to come, and prophecy, and so on. But with regard to this past week, my comments will be a little different tonight, sort of more generic, so a little sense more philosophical, and hopefully challenging to your own understanding of this material. So as we reach or come close to the end of the guide, we can begin to see a number of continuing themes in the book and in Rambam's approach. As we move from his discussion of Job to Abraham, to the distinctive and superior character of the Torah, to the distinctive way that the Torah is written, there is an attempt to frame the discussion in terms of the overall concern that the Torah has with all kinds of people. Those who will benefit from the strict presentation of rules and regulations and basic beliefs about God and the world, and those who will want to go beyond these rules and regulations and try to understand what the world is all about and what could be understood of that world. The passion to understand our world in all of its scientific and metaphysical aspects is acknowledged by Rambam as the true nature of the human being when he is fulfilling his basic mission, his essence as human. Unfortunately for Rambam, the use of the male gender here is probably appropriate for Rambam's mindset. But I would assume that today he would take a different position. He quotes, "Man is a rational animal." That statement is both descriptive and prescriptive. That means it both describes what a human being is, that is, he is created as a rational animal. That's what makes him distinctive. He has that potential, but also what he ought to strive to be. It's the ought as well as the is. Chapters 27 and 28 focus on the nature of the Torah and on the difficulty in having one set of beliefs for everyone. We all need to have one set of rules that the entire society lives by. And he argues for the ritual laws as well as helpful for achieving the goals that the halakha sets out. But with regard to beliefs, he is worried about proclaiming certain beliefs about God and his relation to the world, which the masses might misunderstand, or on the other hand, or perhaps really understand. Necessary beliefs are necessary because without them, the masses would not feel compelled to observe the Torah and pray to God. Look what happens in our world today when we begin to question the traditional beliefs about God and reward and punishment and so on. The sense of this requirement to observe the laws of the Torah is rather diminished. The elite know why they should observe Torah, but even for Rambam, it is not obvious that if he were living in our world, that he would view the obligation to observe mitzvot in the same way he did in his world. Does observance of the mitzvot in our world yield the kinds of results that he refers to in his discussion? Stability of society, moral behavior, people treating each other well, reciprocal wrongdoing, right? All the things that he talks about, does that have much to do with the mitzvot in our world? Certainly there are laws in the United States, but how do the mitzvot contribute to that? Finally, this is a little radical, that question, but I would urge you to sort of think about it. Finally, with regard to his chapter on the sacrifices and the divine ruse, I saw that some of you were not happy with perhaps the way I talked about it, or somehow that sense that the word ruse maybe was a little overdone, but I'm telling you that the Hebrew there is just as serious, and I think the Arabic is as well. Anyway, we are left with, in terms of the divine ruse and wily graciousness and so on, we are left with some very powerful questions. Jewish law appears to be changeable if the circumstances around us change, like when we went from sacrifice to prayer. Are we supposed to examine the purpose and reason for the commandments and then decide which ones are relevant to us today and which not? Surely Maimonides would not want that. He does want us to continue, however, to question and to seek answers. Does he ever find any ultimate meaning in the doing of mitzvot and just the practice? We will see in the next unit that this question continues to be complicated. But from what we have read so far, Rambam is committed to pushing those who are intellectually inclined and talented not just to go for the tikkun hanefesh, welfare of the soul, but rather to strive for shleimut hanefesh, the perfection of the soul. And that means realizing their intellectual potential. So that's my comments on the material that we had for this week. As I said, I'll be posting material tomorrow for next week. I've also posted instructions about the final paper. It's not a major paper, about 10 pages. And there you learn what it is that you'll need to do. As I said at the end there, I certainly am available to consult with you, to talk with you about a topic, but you should do some thinking about it before. But I'm happy to talk with you on the telephone, Skype, Google+, whatever means you want to use for that. By the middle of next week, I'd like for you to already have a topic so you can begin to work on it. You'll submit the topic to me, and then I'll get back to you as I sign off on the appropriateness of that. So we'll have a little back and forth with regard to that. I think that's it. So have a good week, and we'll be in touch through the Chevrutot throughout this coming week. Good night.